So the other day, one of my posts mentioned the love languages, and we were talking about how a minister created this and how it was made to train a woman on how to take care of her men. And someone was like, you really wanted me to go in depth. So someone tagged me in this, and I'm thankful that they did, because this goes a little bit deeper into the origins of the love language. So this was in the complaints subreddit. It says, love languages aren't real, and we really need to stop pretending they are. And that is the title. It says, love languages are a concept created by Gary Chapman, a Southern Baptist minister who has no formal training in psychology or counseling. The original book was directed at women to tell them how to be good wives to their husbands, with all the attendant sexism of what ideal Southern Baptist marriage looks like baked into the book. I have a link to an article that goes in depth if you want evidence, and I'll read some of that. People like to put themselves into strict categories because it eases their mind to think that their problems are solved by simplifying things. This is the appeal of astrology, Myers-Briggs, and love languages. If I'm acts of service and my wife is words of affirmation, then we need to just know what the other is and accommodate for that, and our problems are solved. The reality is far messier. We both engage in acts of service, physical touch, words of affirmation, etc., and appreciate when the other does too. Good relationships involve all five and more. I see love languages referenced in the advice/relationship subreddits regularly. And I wish we all understood that they aren't an evidence-backed way to navigate relationships, so it saved us all a lot of trouble. I agree with this part. Good relationships involve all five. Yes, because sometimes you do need support with your words. Sometimes you do need support with action, and you want to be held and all of that. Life is multifaceted, and you need different things at different times. And I don't like the way it really structures things like we all fit into nice, neat packages. And that's just not life. Life is much more complex than these things, because one day I might need some words, another day I just might need some help in other ways. It all just depends on the situation. So this is the article that he gave as far as a link, and it's from Medium. It says, the love languages are a hoax by a Southern Baptist pastor. Let's look at Gary Chapman's famous theory, and this is from October of 2023. In 1992, a self-help book by a man calling himself a marriage counselor was published that laid out a theory of human relationships. It became a phenomenon. As famous as the five love languages has been, few seem to know that Gary Chapman was never a marriage counselor. He presented as a doctor, with many assuming he was a mental health professional. He was one thing, a Southern Baptist pastor. He does look like a pastor, that face. Gary Chapman's story seemed to be that he was a marriage counselor who had a startling insight. People in relationships, he explained, expressed affection in 5 distinct modes, and everyone has a primary mode. For some, it's words. For others, it's acts of service, or they might give gifts, spend time, or touch. These were his 5 love languages, and he said that marriages improve drastically if people learn to speak their partner's language. Did that seem like great relationship advice? Problems have been noticed. Owing to the popularity of the 5 love languages, many psychologists have studied its claims. It turns out that Chapman's theories can't be documented. A study in 2013, for example, found no benefit when couples claimed the same love languages, and those who self-assessed love languages were mismatched, reported high relational quality. Many have been skeptical of the love language concept. I'm looking over social media and noting various observations made over time. The psychologist Dr. Raquel Martin offers that the love languages model is a neat box that isn't really how human beings work. She adds, everyone is unique, and as a result, you're going to have to put the work in to build meaningful relationships. Scott Adams calls the book Useless BS, as he puts it. If you ask a man what his love language is, he's very likely to say touch. Do you know why? Because he's a man. It turns out that men often have the love language of touch. That observation is regularly made by both men and women with varying inflections. Caitlin says, this isn't a dig, but I've never met a man who didn't say physical touch was his love language. Sonia says, why do men say their love language is physical touch, yet they're the most unaffectionate people? The feminist commentator, Feminista Jones, is succinct. Many men who say physical touch is their love language just really like to F, and this pseudoscience gives it a nice flower. There you go, very succinct. What's less noticed is how Southern Baptist it all is. To learn about Gary Chapman is to find only religious references. He has lived in white Southern Baptist communities all his life. He was born in 1938 in a small town in North Carolina. He was determined to be a missionary. At the time, missionaries were very glamorous in evangelical culture. In his 2021 memoir, Life Lessons in Love Languages, he name-checks his heroes, Jim Elliot and Billy Graham. Like them, he went to Wheaton College, and like them, he realized he didn't much care for actual missionary work. He decided to be an administrator for a missionary organization. He went to Southern Baptist Theological Seminary for a PhD in Christian education, i.e., teaching Southern Baptist theology. He got married and was planning to ship out to Africa. He was doing a pastoral internship when his marriage hit the skids. Gary Chapman is a man who likes a quiet, methodical existence, but his wife's work in the kitchen drove him crazy. He liked the dishwasher loaded one way, she loaded it another. She left the cabinet and drawers open. He was near the breaking point when he had a mystic vision of Jesus washing the feet of the disciples. That's the story that he tells anyway. A new idea of service to his wife, he says, came over him. He writes in his memoir, I went home and told Caroline that she no longer had to worry about the doors and drawers. Or maybe it happened in another way. I read this as a story about a woman who probably did not want to go to Africa and was acting out. If she divorced her weird OCD husband, however, his career as a pastor would have been over. He went into a mode of total submission to appease her. But a 2006 profile in his local newspaper, I noticed, gives their marital struggle some different suggestion as it's narrated there. She came into the marriage feeling self-sufficient and not interested in having a husband tell her what to do. He came into the marriage with what, in retrospect, he sees as some misguided notion about a husband's leadership role. That's a real story. A Southern Baptist man often imagines he's Lord of the universe. His wife can disagree, curiously enough, and warfare breaks out. I'll end it with this part. But Chapman's shift to counseling was mostly just in keeping with religious trends. What he doesn't explain is that by the 70s, Southern Baptists had gotten bored with missionaries. The baby boomers were having kids, and local church membership was surging. So this was all about lifestyle gurus, counseling and lifestyle gurus. That is what the church has shifted to. And like he said, he didn't particularly care for missionary work. And many of these people, these PhDs, the degrees that they were getting weren't actually accredited in the sense that they're actual counselors. But like they said at the very, very beginning, this was all to mold women into being what men needed. And, just to basically keep in tune with what the Bible does already, is for men, by men, and sell some books. Y'all, let me know what you think about all this. Join the conversation, like, comment, and share.